Hey everyone. So I'm going to be participating again in, I'm trying to participate every week in Ann Kinlan's Letter of the Week, and I'm a little bit behind. The D was supposed to be for last Sunday, but I'm going to get caught up. But today I'm doing it on dyeing, paper dyeing, which is not something new, but maybe the things that I'm going to use are new and different, or maybe things that you haven't thought of, or maybe you're already using them. But I know that not everybody has placemats or stencils, placemats being my favorite, but you don't have stencils. And so I've used other things before I got the placemats and stencils to make dyed papers with, and these are very old papers. So you can see that there's markings on this, there's lines on this, and I will be telling you this is from the bottom of a pan. And as I describe that later on in the video, I don't think I actually showed what it does, but this is how it looks with the lines. And this will be part of an item that I'll show you, and you'll know what it is right away once I show it to you. But I just laid some papers out here to show you that you don't always need stencils. Sometimes just the markings from the way the tea or coffee or whatever you're using dries gives them beautiful markings just by themselves. I mean, you don't even need all the extra things. Look at all that. These are ones I think I just barely dipped and laid them out. And a lot of times if you just spray. But anyway, let's get to the video and I will show you some things that I've been using aside from the normal things to get some pretty markings. And I hope it helps and will inspire you to look around your house and see what you might have. I'm really excited about today's video. It's one of my most favorite things to do, and that is to dye papers. So I'm choosing that because the letter of the week for Ann Kinlan's challenge is D, and I've been dyeing papers, obviously, preparing for the Christmas in July, and that is going to be on Debbie Ham's channel, 3 Hens and a Chick. It's always linked below. And a lot of creators are just doing different things to sell that you can use in your Christmas junk journals. I think in October they'll have another one where it's like gifts, but I think this one is mainly things that you can use. So back to why I chose dyeing. I have a lot of stencils and placemats like this. And actually, I just got these. I haven't even used them yet. Look at them. They're kind of that iridescent. But I got these at the secondhand store, and they're placemats. And I think I paid 15 cents maybe for these. They were 80% off. And they're the heavier ones, so they are really nice. If it's windy outside, you can get a great stencil. But if you're using a placemat, you want to make sure that it is a hollowed placemat, or you're not going to get any kind of design. But I'm not going to show you just the normal things like that today. I wanted to show, and the stencils, but look how cool that is. One of the tips I have on a stencil that has words is if you flip that over, it's going to give a ghost print that's going to be backwards, obviously. If that bothers you, might want to rethink doing the words. Also, whatever you lay on the top of this, because normally I lay my stencil and then I put other papers on the top, they're going to be backwards. So how I've chose to fix that, I had some stencils that said like Merry Christmas, and I was trying to see if I had some samples of some here. And of course I don't, so I'm going to grab one and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, and just to let you know, I am going to show you some things that maybe you haven't used before, trying to think outside the box if you don't have stencils or placemats, some other things that work wonderful. But just to get my tips out of the way for the things that we would normally use, some things that I've learned through all of these dyeing processes, and I'm sure that a lot of you have already thought of it, but when I was first dyeing, I love this Noel, and what that is a little stencil like this. little round stencil, and I just put it down here. The problem is that when you lay a sheet of paper on the top, which I do because I layer my papers, the one on the top is going to be backwards. So how I fix that, my friend Joanne, I'm like, I'm so sad, look, it's backwards. She said, well, did we learn something? Yes, I did. I learned that on this, when I do a stencil like that, on the top of it, I lay like a little, these are little coasters for your cups. And so, but I love the snowflakes, so I use those as stencils. So maybe not always think of something large that's going to cover your whole sheet. Something like this is going to give you a great look, and for this case, serves my purpose that the sheet above, when I lay down my stencil, I put this one on the top and then lay my sheet down so that the paper on top gets the snowflake and this one on the bottom gets my words. I've got that in the bag, so you probably can't see it that well, but that's how I like to fix the problem of the backwards words. Something like this, what I did was I laid snowflakes where the words were. Say this was a snowflake. That way, you know, all of this could be either way. You can't read the words anyway, but it will stop the words from looking backwards on the sheet above. So that would be my first tip if you're using something that has words. And then this would be my second tip. Use things that, like the coasters and things that maybe you wouldn't think of so much for stencils. I'm not sure you can see that, but there is the snowflake. I had some little tree coasters, and so I laid the tree down, and then I sprayed the star with gold while it was laying down on this paper. Of course, my paper's already been dipped. It's wet. I lay my coaster down, and I just sprayed the star with gold to give it a little extra look. But I love using the coasters. They're wonderful size. Oh, look at this one. And I just sprayed the tree with some blue. This was tea-dyed paper. I had dipped it in the tea, laid my little coaster down like this, and then I sprayed just a little bit of blue, whether it be Distress Ink blue or blue Rit dye, whatever, however you want to color it. And again, I layered my papers, and you get a really nice print on the back as well, a nice ghost print. So those are some that I used with coasters. I thought they turned out really good. Okay, and let's assume you don't have those either. You have coffee cups or a measuring cup, and you set it in the bottom of your color, whatever you're using, tea, coffee. This was hibiscus tea, and I put the cups in it to hold it down under the water. And when I removed it, I saw it still had rings. So then I just dipped the bottom of my cup into my water and just random set for a few minutes on the paper and lifted it back off, and it left these beautiful rings. Another thing you can do if you don't want to use your cups, because if you leave your cup, you can actually put, if this is outside and you know it's windy and you put your cup there, it will do two things. It will hold down your paper and it will leave a nice ring. The problem is if it's not a clear cup, if it's like a coffee cup, this center here will be white because it's not getting any sun and the color kind of fades away. But something you could do, I haven't tried this yet. You know how we always end up with a whole bunch of lids and we don't have the bowls to match? You could cut this plastic out of the center and then set these on, and so that inside will be colored and you'll have the ring that looks like a coffee ring. So I thought that might be kind of neat. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm going to. So those are just some that I did the coffee spills on. Here's some more with the snowflake. Here's a neat one. Looks like dots. I love the dots. Isn't that cool? Grungy and cool. And what I used for that was a pan that you get from the Dollar Tree. Look at all these dots. what I did was I had a whole bunch of scraps that I just put in coffee and then laid them on this pan. And this pan you can get at the Dollar Tree, and it has holes all in the bottom, just like that. And if you set it on top of your papers or you put papers in it, you're going to get these dots. I had a whole bunch of these because when I used to make or dry out my used coffee filters, I would put them on this and run them across so that the ground coffee would fall through these holes. Well, inadvertently, I realized I can get really cool stencils out of it too. And that video showing how I did that is like years and years old. It's kind of painful to watch, but if you do have used coffee filters, I can link that below to show you. But again, these pans I got from the Dollar Tree, and they're probably, what, 9 by 13, I'm guessing. So those are a really neat way to get holes like this. Another thing, when I very first started doing this, dyeing papers, I couldn't find a lot of placemats. And I only had in my mind I needed it as big as the paper. Here's some more of the snowflake coasters. I needed it as big as the paper. So I was looking for anything that I thought, you know, that was hollowed out. Well, this is a bathtub. You put it in the bottom of your bathtub to keep from falling. It's a no-slip kind of thing, and it has little dots on it. And this leaves awesome prints. I was wondering if I had any papers with that on it. I'm going to grab some so you can see what a cool pattern it leaves on your papers. And a lot of times you can find those kind of things at the secondhand shop, or they're really cheap at the Dollar Tree. I may have even gotten those at the Dollar Tree. Hold on, I'm going to try to find you one with a pattern of that. Okay, so I did find some more with the dots from the pan. Doesn't that look neat? And then here is the pattern that this bath mat makes. Isn't that cool? I love that. This is actually coffee dye. But look, I mean, it goes through several layers. These were stacked on top of each other. And so it shows on the back, and it does ghost prints down underneath. The beautiful part about this size of a mat, like the bath mat, is I put 2 stacks of paper side by side, and then I can lay this across, and I'm getting both of them done at the same time. A minimum of 4 sheets will be stenciled, because your 2 top sheets and the 2 underneath sheets will get the ghost prints and look really pretty. So you get a lot of prints from just the top layer, and I really think that's pretty. That's coffee dye. And this is a placemat. That's not, pretty sure that's a placemat, and that's coffee. But I thought these were really interesting. And a lot of people don't like the smell of coffee. They love the rich goodness of the coffee, but not the smell. I've been messing around with putting some cinnamon in my coffee mixture to see if that would help with the smell. I love coffee smell, so it doesn't bother me. So far, I've used actual cinnamon. I've used cinnamon disc, like candy. I've used Red Hots, and it does not completely take away the smell, but it does help somewhat. So if you like the coffee, might try that. Also, I had a viewer to tell me one time to use Rit dye in brown. Looks like coffee. I haven't tried that yet, but that might be another route. Another really cool stencil that is not actually a stencil. I found this one out by mistake too. Do you ever get these? These are planter boxes, like you buy starter plants in, and like at, you know, Lowe's or your greenhouse, and they'll come in a box like this, and they have the little starter plants. Well, I kept these, you know, of course, and when the wind was blowing, I would set these on my papers, and it gives this really cool design. And again, you can cover 2 to 3 stacks with this little box here. too, that makes a really cool design. I couldn't find any of those, but I do know I have some of them. I just couldn't find them to show them to you. So that's another idea that's fun. Another thing that I have used is, and a lot of people don't like this because it is hard to get a really good print. But if you have heavy, like this is heavy crochet tablecloths, I cut mine down into pieces, and I don't wet these first. I have my papers that are wet that I have dyed, and then I just lay this on the top, and it does give a really nice design. It's not perfect, not a perfect design like this. If you're using placemats, there could be some, you know, running parts. They won't be precise, but they're still beautiful. So if you have old pieces like this, whether they be table runners, coffee table, you know, mats or whatever, you might look at the design on those, and maybe you can find some part of that you like to do this with. And another kind of placemat, these are plastic tablecloths, and of course the part that covers the table is like this, so it's not very porous. It will still leave a pattern, just not very big. There are holes there, but the person that sold me this looks like they just cut it around the edge, because this is the part that would probably hang from the table, and this leaves beautiful marks. And this is plastic and will last a long time. You can, and this is so long, again, you can cover 3 or 4 stacks of paper with that. That's a really good stencil option. Here's some more of the tablecloth I had. There's heart patterns and this little check pattern, and all of this I've used. You can tell by looking at this, because it's very dingy. I've used it with tea and all different kinds of things, and I do get this pattern, and it's wonderful. And I think this started out as a tablecloth that was crochet. It's pretty stiff now because I've used it so much in dyeing. Here's an interesting one that, again, I learned because I was trying to find things to hold down my papers outside. And this is a baking rack, like a cooling rack, like you put your cookies on. Sorry, I can't get it all in screen, but all of this will show on your papers. That will leave a mark, and it doesn't even have to touch your papers. I set this above my papers because there's little feet on it. See the little feet? So it's not directly setting on my papers, but it still gave this wonderful look. Or you could turn it upside down, where the flat side, you'll get these little rungs. And that's another thing. On the basting pan that I use to dye my papers in, it has little grooves on the bottom of the pan. You set that on there, they will also leave a really cool pattern. Another thing, this made me think of it, I've done before, a tennis racket. There was a tennis racket out in the yard the kids were playing with, and I needed things to hold down my paper, so I laid the tennis racket there. Again, it left this really cool netted pattern that was fun and easy. You don't have to buy anything. Look around at the things that you have, because a lot of times you'll have things you don't even realize will make really cool stencils. I'm sitting here looking at, I had some little like crocheted pieces, like the little small doilies. You can also lay those on there. That's a win-win, because your doily will get dyed whatever color, plus it will leave a pattern on your paper. Now, I have found that it leaves a better mark if I don't wet this first. If I wet this and then lay it on the paper, it seems like it all kind of seeps together. But if I leave this dry and only my paper is wet, it seems like it leaves a better pattern. That's just my experience. A lot of people do wet this, and I'm sure it leaves a wonderful pattern. Same with crochet trim, something like this. You can lay this on the edge of your paper and get a beautiful marking from that. I've done that many, many times. I'm just looking around my desk to see what other things that I have I've used And this is something that I've used. I didn't have great results from it, but you can still use it, and that is bubble wrap. I've seen different people use bubble wrap. And again, your papers are wet, you lay them down, put the bubble wrap layer more on the top, and sometimes you'll get these really tiny little dot patterns. Again, I have not had excellent results with that, so I don't keep doing that. But a lot of times, even like a wire basket, you could set on the top. Oh gosh, there's so many things that you can use to get patterns that aren't meant for that. You know, you don't have to have placemats or, stencils, but I think they're really fun. And that is a tip I wanted to give you about the stencils being backwards. I'm sure probably all of you have thought about that, but I did not. If you're interested in seeing a dyeing process, I do have one from last year, but I don't know that I had a lot of stencils in that one. If that would be something that you're interested in to see the whole dyeing process, like how I rotate them, when I rotate them, because that was a question a lot of people had was, do your papers not stick together, and when do you start moving them? And I can kind of maybe show you that, how I do that. These are beautiful. That was the little stencil there. Now see this, there's lines there. That came from the bottom of a pan. Now, I don't know if you can see them really well, but there are lines on this page where I had a pan setting. So that, you get markings from a lot of things that you don't even realize you're going to get. Main thing is you want them to be hollowed or porous where you can get really good markings. And mine aren't showing up because of the color of this paper. This is hibiscus, by the way, and it's blue. Hibiscus flower is red. And yes, this is a stencil. When it dries outside, it leaves the openings of the stencil leave this really dark, and I love it. Leave the really dark spots, and then your background stays the blue. This one, also you can get stencils from Walmart. Did you know that? I did not know that. My grandson got me stencils for Mother's Day. How thoughtful is that? And I never mentioned wanting anything but he's watched me do the dyeing for years now. And he went in and he said, stencils, I wonder if they have those. Sure enough, they did. Really cool ones. They're the plastic kind. And they work great. Look at that. They have 2 different sizes, he said. Now, I didn't go in myself. This is a stencil. And see, it has the numbers. So on the back, it's going to be backwards. If that bothers you, maybe you could cover it in your journal or whatever. It doesn't bother me. I love the grungy. So backwards, forwards, I don't care. I just love it. I'm just showing you some of the designs. This is a placemat. Not sure it's showing, but there's a placemat. And here are some of the little coasters. And the reason I put the placemat over the top, so I've got 2 different patterns going on here, is because, again, it was windy. So I had my little snowflake coasters laying out. And they're lightweight. And so I laid a heavier stencil over the top, so it left my snowflake patterns and my heavier stencil. I thought those were kind of neat. There's a really good view of it. You see the snowflakes and the bigger stencil. I love this. This is a stencil, and it's writing. It looks like a letter on robin's egg blue paper. Isn't that cool? I love that. But again, the one that's on top, if you don't cover this, will look backwards. So here's kind of a ghost print of it. And it is very light, but it's the right way. Here's some more of that splatter. It was probably the ghost print. And here you can see Christmas is backwards. Well, no, on this side it's right. You can probably not see it very well. But on the back it's backwards. It was probably one of those little stencils. This is another beautiful placemat. And it almost feels embossed. As it's drying, the heavier whatever you have on top, it's almost like it embosses itself. And it pulls up through there, and you can feel that. Isn't that neat? And again, this is the hibiscus. Look how dark that looks. And how, I mean, the back is light. I love using hibiscus. Been doing some with avocado and coffee, RIT dye. But those are just some examples of what you can get. I think I love dyeing. I love trying to see, you know, like I've said before, it reminds me of a masterboard because you really don't know what you're going to get or how it's going to turn out. But I thought these were maybe some neat ideas that you could try if you didn't have stencils. Love the dot pattern. And like on your scrap pieces of paper, to have the little dot. And these are going to be like little tags that are in a gift box. And they've got the little stenciling on them. But you could use these for your clusters or anything. I just think, you know, what an easy way to get some pattern on plain white paper. And that's all that was scraps of paper. And you've seen me, I used also, well, when I made this tag, the grungy tag, that this is avocado dye. So when you're doing things, don't throw away your scraps. They make awesome dyed pieces. Same with these little tabs. That is ledger that I copy dyed. And then, you know, all I did was make 2 snips, and now we have a beautiful tab. So, not trying to go back over all of the videos I've already done, but I would like to also show you, you know, depending on the paper that you have is what you're going to get. These papers here were blue. This was a blue paper. Like this, that I got from the secondhand store, secondhand tree. So I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this is a lot lighter. I put it in the hibiscus water, and I got those beautiful dark markings. This paper is normal. Well, it's copy paper, but it's a little bit heavier. I think it's 24 pound maybe. So, and both of these are hibiscus, but look how different the colors are. And then also, let me show you, I did some book page and different things. Experiment with your dye, because you're going to get so many different shades of color, no matter, just by using different papers. Same water, different papers. Hold a second. Hold, please. Okay, so remembering these are all hibiscus. They're all the same dye, same batch even. I did all of these from the same batch of hibiscus. And so, but it's just a different variety of papers. This I love. This is an index card. Probably not going to show up, but it is very grungy, very beautiful. A lot of blue, different colors of blue in there. This is book page. Looks like robin egg blue ledger. It's gorgeous. But this is also book page, and all 3 of these are book pages. And I don't know if you can see the variance of color, but they're different kinds of paper, so your dye looks different. This I love. It just, oh. This feels more like it's not a rag, but it has probably some rag content to it, maybe some cotton or hemp. This is more of a nowadays kind of book. It's not slick, but doesn't have a lot of grip to it. So all of these things, look at all those shades, were from the very same batch. Same with this. As dark as this is, same batch. Oh, and there's some of those markings from the bottom of the planter I had setting on this. And these are, look how blue that is. And that's from ledger page. Same. This is the same ledger page, same batch. And this one is, look how different it looks. Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? Oh, and there's a stencil. Must have been laying on that one a little bit. I just love all the things that you get. This one almost looks like a lavender, a lilac. And this is, oh, this is ledger page, but like from a cash book, like a a newer ledger page, not the heavy duty from old time. This is the same ledger, and look, same ledger, same batch, and that's the variation I got. This is music page, and it gave it more of a gray color, which it looks awesome. It looks like it's just aged paper, and the way it done around the edging, I wish I could find a way to show you how good it looks. It looks like you inked it, and you haven't. I haven't. It's just that hibiscus water, but it gave it a grayish, almost like a foxing look on this music paper. There's some more of those holes. And that's funny too, because on this same sheet, we have blue and some of the gray. So I think it just depends on how much light it's getting. And again, all of these things, I soaked them at the same time. Nothing was different. I put them all in the pan together, and maybe that's what gave me the variations, because some of it has ink, some of it has no markings, some of it has this kind of ink, like that's been, you know, manufactured. So I don't know, but mess around with your dyes, and you will get so many different shades and various things. I think if I laid all these down next to each other, you probably wouldn't realize, unless I told you, they all came from the same batch of dye, you know, because they're so different. Anyway, I just thought I would give you some of my tips and tricks that I've learned through dyeing papers. And again, like I said, if you want to see the whole process, I can start trying to do that. Of course, when it's not raining. I think it's going to rain here the next 4 days. But also, what do you do with them? Well, things like this, of course, sheets like this you can write on. You have lots of writing space. The smaller sheets, the book pages, I love having different sizes, different colors, different everything in my journals. I like mine to be a mix of everything. So that's, you know, that's a lot of great writing right there. Awesome writing. And to have different sizes, shapes, colors in the same book, just, that's what I like. You might not be that way. You might like all yours uniform and the same size. But the reason I do that is because I do like different shapes, patterns, sizes in my books. Plus, you can make so many things with them. So many embellishments, ephemera, different things with the colored pieces. So if you don't have stencils or, you know, placemats or table runners, look around at what you do have. Do you have any of these kind of little pans? Do you have a bath mat that you're not using anymore? This came from one of the plastic placemats too, a piece of that. And you can get beautiful designs and not necessarily have to have stencils like this. I love this. Who would have thought that came from a bath mat? I don't know. I love it. I hope this helped, gave you some new ideas, gave you a way to look at things around your house. You'll be looking around like, oh, that has holes. I'm sticking that on some paper. I hope you like this. I hope it helped. Any ideas, suggestions that you have, or things that you've tried, I would love to hear it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.